Friday from the Making Foundation. Wanted to welcome you guys here for Friday's Make the Most post. Quiet dogs. Filming at home. Yay. So I had us all planned out today for our project, which was going to be tie-dyeing something. But I went outside this morning and I like birds. I'm going to be an old bird guy when I'm old. I'm sure I'll be in the woods with a funny hat and all that, looking at birds. So I like my birds. And I ordered some bird seed. And I came out this morning and I discovered that the squirrels, who have been very active as of late, had completely decimated my bird seed supply. So I'm deciding to call an audible, and we are switching projects. I am going to a very entertaining squirrel feeder today. That is my project. Now, this is something that I am trying to be creative with on the spot. Well, not really on the spot. I thought this out a little bit. But I haven't seen this exact project exist before. So this is kind of an experiment. But I feel like it's going to be really good. And there has never been a better time to do some experiments when it comes to making. So let's get to it. So my basic approach on this is there are a lot of different squirrel feeders out there that have a jar and you put the food in there, and it's entertaining because you get to see the squirrel stick his little head in there and get out all the food. Very entertaining, especially with a bigger bottle, or a bigger jar rather, like this, where he has to go in there and you have like a captive audience. It's like squirrel TV. But I want to do a slightly different approach because most of those require building some kind of, to get full effect, building some kind of box enclosure on that, so the squirrel really knows that he has to go in there, he or she or they has to go in there to get their corn or whatever we're going to put in there. So, and it's entertaining seeing them in there, but I'll be honest, I kind of want to get back at them a little bit. So what I'm thinking is we take a little bit of that approach and let's apply it to a swinging squirrel feeder. Right? So what we're going to need for this, you need something flat. I happen to have a board, this board. I'm bored, have boards, all that. But really you could get creative with this. If you don't have a board that's the right size, you could probably get a big stick that would work. Basically what you need is something relatively flat. You could probably even use some kind of book if you have one was of no use. Or rolled up magazine perhaps, I don't know. Let's figure it out, let's experiment. But I have a board, so that's what I'm going with. And the intent is we just need a flat surface that we can attach something to. Now, like I said, mason jars are a great option, but I'm not going to use that. One, their glass are heavy. If something were to go wrong and or fall, I don't want that to happen. Two, you don't have as much action with it as compared, because since we're not building kind of a box for them to enter, it would just be like a jar with some stuff in it and they could go and help themselves. No. I want to do something a little bit more entertaining. So we have a bunch of these awesome Hustle Haven water bottles that we found out are not dishwasher safe. Great lesson, but they melt a little bit, so they are less useful unless you're making a squirrel trap, which I think it's going to be ideal. And why I think it's going to be ideal is, one, it's considerably longer than any of our mason jars. Two, it's got this little neck right here, and what this neck is for is when this bottle goes into a water bottle holder, like on a bike cage or anything, that holds it in place. But what I like about that little neck and that little kind of bump right there is it's going to keep, as the food is swinging, that little ledge, that ridge, whatever we're going to call that, the convex area, is going to keep the food in here, so it's not going to come out. So it really does have to go in there. So let's put that aside for a second. And again, I'm using this water bottle. You could really use just about anything here that's clear. Mustard jar, anything. Going through the fridge real quick, I saw this one is not empty. I think this would be a really good one, and I may redo this. I just need to make sure that may have to cut that off to make sure the squirrel can actually fit in there, because what I don't want to make a squirrel trap. I don't want to catch any squirrels. That would be sad and potentially very dangerous as well. So, flat surface, step one. bottle, step 2, a way to make it all go together. Now, we could use a glue gun to keep this on here. We could use some glue. We could tie it on. But I'm gonna go really simple since we're on quarantine still and you know, don't necessarily have a lot of stuff available to us. I'm gonna use some duct tape that I had. But before we do that, we gotta figure out a way that we're gonna make this swing. Now, if life was normal and we were at the making foundation, I would go through and drill some holes here and have those all ready to go and just plumb my string through it and go at it. I'm going to assume that not everyone has a drill at home. I happen to have one down there. I don't want to cheat and use it because I have a feeling that like not everybody necessarily has a drill that they can use at home. So what I'm going to do is go a slightly different direction and use a saw, which, hey, wait a minute, if you don't have a drill, are you gonna have a saw? Maybe? I feel like there's a few more saws out there in the world than there are drills, but that's what I'm gonna go with because it is what I have here, and it's a little bit more accessible on the whole, I think, than a drill, because saws are way cheaper than drills, and there's always lots of old saws in basements and whatnot. But please be very, very safe with a saw because it is dangerous. It can cut you. I have lots of scars on my hands over the years from learning that lesson over and over. So do not do this on your own. If you are using a saw, be sure and have an adult supervision. If you're an adult that needs supervision, have another adult to supervise you. But I think I'm an adult. I'm being supervised. Let's get to it. So I'm going to use a different approach that allows us to tie the string on here without drilling holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark some lines here that basically create little notches. So I can loop my string on there, and if it's swinging a whole lot, that the string is not going to come off there. It'll be nice and solid. So if I could just do a little line in here, but I want to angle it just a little bit so I feel really good that the string is not going to accidentally come off. So I'm just indicating a couple angles here. And I'm just going to take my saw. This is a pull saw. This is a little bit different than your typical, you know, when you think of a cartoon saw, that kind of saw. And they call it a pull saw. Any guesses? Because you push it. No, because you pull it. You pull it towards you, and it gives you really nice control, so it's a little bit better and a little bit safer to use than a traditional big saw that you're kind of fighting and going all over. Also, guys, don't saw at your kitchen table. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get in trouble for it, but I don't want you guys to get in trouble for it. So, real small little notches is all I'm trying to put on here. You want to make sure your weight is down there. You don't want to keep your hand on here. We're not trying to get our hand anywhere near the blade. And as always, to start, we're just going to lightly drag it across there. Get ourselves a little ditch. Keeping good pressure so the piece isn't sliding around too much. And that, my friends, is all I'm after. Just a little notch like that. I'm gonna go over on the opposite side, do the same thing. What's that? You see a squirrel? We're gonna get him, don't worry. Okay, so we have our flat surface in here. Now, and the reason we cut those in there before we put this on is it would be really difficult to cut those with this big bottle on here. Now, as I said, we could really use just about anything here to attach this. We can get creative, we could tie it on there. Like I said, I'm going to use this duct tape that I have here. And one good thing about duct tape, there's so many good things about duct tape, but one good thing about duct tape is it rips really easily. which I love. And then when you have a piece like this, you can tear it into strips. Because I could just go like this, but I want it to look, if you're gonna do something, make it look all right. Put in the effort. So we can cut it into strips. I'm gonna touch that. Do my first one here. We're gonna get our logo up so we can be very on brand as the squirrel is swinging around, trying to get their food. So that was just one piece, and we're already surprisingly secure on there. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do a total of 3 strips on this one. Okay, so now we have that on there. We are going to cut some lengths of string, which is something that I realized that I forgot to grab, which is scissors. Uno momento, por favor. And we're back. So we're gonna cut some lengths of string, and I'm just doing this as an example right now because I need to measure based off of the branch that I'm gonna hang this off of. So I'm just gonna find a spot here and 4 pieces of string. You could use yarn, you could use probably dental floss if you used a few pieces and braided it. You could really get creative. But now I'm gonna do a little loop in here. Make sure enough. I'm just doing a simple single knot. I'm not a knot expert, so. Although, really, like, that's what I should be doing in this quarantine is learning how to tie better knots, because that's one of those things like whistling. It's like, man, when you can, like, do that whistle, you're cool. You're cool. If you can tie cool knots and, like, know, like, oh, this is a half Windsor double backflip knot, you're probably cooler than me. Alright, so, got one of those on. I'm going to feed it into my cut here and just push. You can see as I'm pulling, it's going right down into that line, like so. Even it out a little bit, pull up on one side, like so. And now what we have is a really stable joint right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of them. Now you get to see kind of what we're working with here, and you can take a couple different approaches, tie it around a branch this way, and what you're going to get is a very entertaining swing while the squirrel's in there, and you can make it more stable or less stable. It's going to be more stable if we take each of these individual and tie them. So the more contact it has, the more stable it's going to be. So all 4 posts tied individually is going to be really stable. It may not be as entertaining. What I'm after, I want this to be crazy. So I'm going to take all 4 of these and tie them together and then attach that, because then we get really kind of the entertainment of where this is going. So now that we have that, I'm going to take, I've got this squirrel feed block here. And I'm just going to take some of this, and it's just basically corn and birdseed and who knows what else deliciousness stuff if you're a squirrel. See how messy I can get here too. Squirrel! Okay. That's enough.
It's good for now.
It's good for now until the vacuum comes out. Okay. And that's it. And we've got our squirrel-o-vision here that we can watch them in there making a fool of themselves. I don't know. It's gonna be fun.
I'm sure there'll be a time lapse later, huh?
Maybe. If it's entertaining. If they love it and they're like giving me thumbs up and high fives, no evidence of that will come out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Give this a swing. Swing. This could be a really fun thing. I'm pretty excited to see how it turns out. I mean, I see how it turned out, but to see how it is in fact, I think it's gonna be pretty entertaining. And again, thanks for tuning in to Making the Most. If you make one of these and if you make one of these and it is awesome and it works out, tag it, make the most. Thank you guys. We really appreciate your support during this time. Any support that you can give, we've got stuff up on the website. A simple donation of a couple bucks goes a long way in this crazy time. We are grasping, trying to figure out how to make the most of this in immediate literal sense and then a bigger sense. And we are a nonprofit and we thrive and survive off the support of our students and those folks that see value in what we do. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be here every week until we're always going to be here. We're always going to be here. Thank you guys.